what can you say about a book that pretty much saved Goosebumps from getting canceled? Well, to be honest, I don't know what you can say. Well, not only did it save Goosebumps from being canceled, it also gave birth to the most iconic character of Goosebumps. So pretty much the mascot of Goosebumps, Slappy the dummy. Yeah. Uh-huh. Can't thank a book enough for that. So yeah, Night of the Living Dummy, the book that started it all with Slappy. Well, not exactly. What I mean by that, well, so what's the plot of Night of the Living Dummy? So basically, we have these two twin sisters named Lindy and Chris, and they always butt heads with each other. And one day they're walking their dog to a construction site. I mean, there's a house being built in their neighborhood, and Lindy finds a dummy in the trap in a dumpster, and she names him Slappy. So yeah, and Lindy decides she wants to be a ventriloquist, and performs with Slappy, and she starts getting good at it. Yeah, which of course makes Chris jealous. So yeah, and Chris is like, I want a dummy of my own now. And the parents are like, why don't you two share Slappy? And Lindy doesn't like that idea at all. So yeah, and weird, creepy things start happening with Slappy. Yeah, Chris thinks Slappy's watching her. Yeah. Well, then one day, her dad gives Chris a dummy of her own called Mr. Wood. So yeah. And then, yep, bizarre things start happening with Mr. Wood. He appears in random places throughout the house. He tries on her beads, like jewelry, and yeah. And one night the fridge in the kitchen is open and all the food is spread across the floor. So yeah. And then yeah. Well, then Lindy reveals she was the one doing it all. Yep. It was her all along doing the pranks. And this makes Chris upset as she figures on getting back at her sister. And then one day she finds a piece of paper in Mr. Wood's pocket. Yeah, a slip of paper. And reads the magic words that, of course, bring him to life. And then he insults the elderly neighbors, like the Millers, and then he insults Chris's drama teacher while she's performing, and he vomits exorcist style. Yeah. And then one night, Mr. Wood comes out of the closet and he gets very violent. He punches Chris in the forehead, slugs her in the stomach. Yeah. Oh, and then Lindy sees Mr. Wood alive, and then the girls wrestle him, stuff him in a suitcase. They take him to the construction site and bury him under this mountain of dirt. Well, the next day, Mr. Wood appears back in the kitchen covered in dirt. And he calls the girls his slaves, threatens to use his powers. He even strangles their dog, Barky. Yes, I know. And then, so they basically chase Mr. Wood out of the house to the construction site, and then something happens to Mr. Wood. Let's say he gets crushed. And then they come home and Slappy, Slappy does something, let's just say. And that's essentially Night of the Living Dummy. So, what do I think of this book? Well, I think this book is really good. Yeah, it's got a creepy vibe. Yeah, a good villain. Oh yeah. What I mean, it's not the best dummy book, I think, but I would say it's the second best out of the trilogy, I think. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, the negatives, I have a couple, and that is the twins, the girls, they constantly bicker throughout the book. I mean, and it gets very repetitive and annoying. Yeah. And another thing, well, Mr. Wood claims to have magic powers, but he doesn't use them. Like, the only powers we see him do is, as I said, vomit exorcist style. Yeah. And, oh, another thing, I found it kind of weird how Wendy, like, everyone, like, what was that, awed by her ventriloquism? Like, who likes ventriloquism that much, you know? So, yeah, if you haven't read Night of the Living Dummy, highly recommend you do. I mean, it's the book that pretty much introduced the iconic Goosebumps mascot, and it saved Goosebumps from being canceled. So, what more can you ask for with this book? How? I mean, the dummy books don't really follow continuity that well. I mean, you could pretty much dive into whatever book and read it from there. And I think Stein did that because he knew kids wouldn't be able to like pick up each book, like wouldn't follow the books in particular order. So yeah. Anyways, uh, thanks for watching and subscribe.